Julia Stanton, and I'm the English Connects lead for Sub-Saharan Africa. And I'm absolutely delighted to be opening this webinar today to showcase the work of the teachers from Ethiopia, Nigeria, and Sudan, who have been participating in the English Connects Classroom Action Research Program. So English Connects support individual teachers and teacher educators to access and engage with professional development opportunities, resources, and networks. By doing this, they will acquire new and will improve teacher knowledge, skills, and ideas, which will help them to support sustainable improvements in the teaching and learning of English. So I'm very happy to introduce the consultant who has been working with the classroom action researchers on this project, Dr. Paula Wibelodo, who is a teacher educator, and researcher. So can I hand over to you, Paula? Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for the introduction. Just to make matters difficult, I'm going to pronounce my name. My name is Paula Rebolledo. Do not attempt to repeat that, please. It's very dangerous for you. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I'm so happy to give a welcome to the participants of the program, to our wonderful mentors that make it all happen. And of course, thank you to the British Council that is giving this opportunity to teachers. This is us. This is the team. I wanted to share with you who we all are. The mentors are on the left of your screen. Those are Irene and Teresa. They're both based in Kenya. They have been fundamental for the development of this project. They have supported the teachers in Ethiopia, Sudan, and Nigeria from those three countries to carry out the research. So the question is, what did we do? What did we help them do? If you can show the next slide, Steve. Thank you. So in the next slide, we are showing a little bit of the process that they carried out. Basically, what the mentors did is support all these teachers. There are 19 teachers presenting today throughout the process of exploratory action research. In this process, what the teachers did is they started by reflecting about their practice and selecting an issue to explore, coming up with questions. After that, they went into a process of exploration in which they collected data throughout using different methods, and from those data, they just inform possible changes. So after the analysis process and the reflection of what they discovered, they started to plan ways to address the situation. From that plan, they just actually implemented an action plan or a series of activities to carry them out, and then they collected data again to know the impact. From that, they just reflected on the learnings gained from this experience and what it means for their classroom. So this is what they did, and they did this in a process of 5 months. So what are you going to hear about today? In the next slide, I would like to show you here a little bit of what these teachers are going to be talking about and sharing with us. What they are going to do is they're going to explain through a brief video, a brief mean by 3 minutes to 5 minute video. They're just going to explain, just as a summary, what they did throughout this process. And they're going to explain it in their own words, explaining the key sections of the process. And they're going to use a poster as a prompt to help you go with them in this journey of this research. The posters have been designed by themselves, and so it would give you an idea of how they see the research using visuals, okay? So this is the way they're going to present their process. There are going to be 19 teachers presenting their projects from the 3 different countries. And so since they are the stars of this show, and only them, I would just leave it for Steve to introduce the different teams and the different teachers describing their research. So welcome, teachers. Good luck in your presentations, and I hope you audience enjoys it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Paula. Thanks, Julia. Welcome everyone who just joined. My name is Steve Job. I'm the marketing coordinator for English Connect in SSA. I'm going to play the videos of the 3 different teams. So I kick off with Team Ethiopia, then we'll have Team Sudan, and then finally Team Nigeria. So when I play the video for Team Ethiopia, you will have an opportunity to ask your questions in the Q&A box, and the Team Ethiopia will actually be able to answer your questions live. So I'm going to play the videos now for everyone to see.
Hello, my name is Danyacho. I am senior lecturer in the Department of English Language and Literature in Walda University, which is found in northeast of Ethiopia. 2 weeks ago, I had a group of 32 first year pedagogical science students aged 19 to 24. This group of students were reluctant to speak in English in my communicative English skills classes. They were not speaking English in classes. I began to wonder why it is the case and decided to explore this case to understand the situation. Then I asked for basic exploratory research questions. What is the perception of my students towards speaking in English in class? What speaking opportunities do my students have in class? What do these students think of strategies I use to promote speaking in class? And what do my colleagues think about my student speaking skills? To answer these research questions, I collected data through questionnaire, classroom observation, and interview. I distributed questionnaire to students. Then questionnaire answers showed me that this group of students felt nervous about speaking in English as they are afraid of making mistakes in front of the whole class. Observation and interview responses indicated that although these students like to be good speaker in English, they struggle to speak in English. Then I designed an action plan for my implementation. These action plans were think, pair, share, preparing short daily speaking activities with information gaps, and self-introductions. I evaluated the effect of these action plans using 2 tools, peer observation and focus group interview. Peer observation was conducted in 6 times in 2 weeks during intervention, that was 2nd and 3rd week of May and end of intervention. And focus group interview was conducted end of intervention, that was end of May. The result tells me that my students were more interested in speaking English in pair using vocabularies they use in class. They were more confident in class and now enjoyed speaking in pair and even the whole class activities more than before. The self-introductions took off slowly due to the anxiety, but they were not judged, improved, it increased opportunity to them to speak in English. As they participate in pair and through daily activities, the amount of speaking was improved. This seemed to increase their confidence level of speaking. I was very happy with the results that come from mainly from my students. I believe that continued use of information gap and pair work will build more confidence in the long run.
My name is Ali Hassan, and I'm lecturer at Samara University under Computer Science Department. Before 5 months ago, I know and understand that one of my group learners didn't understand well computer programming. I decided to carry out exploratory action research project to find out solution to this problem. To guide my exploration, I basically come up with 3 different exploratory action research questions. The first question was, what strategies do I use in class to teach computer programming? The second, how often do my students practice programming in class? And the third question was, What do students think of strategies I use to teach computer programming? To answer those questions, I decided to collect data from peer observation and focus in group interview. I organized focus group of 6 learners and I selected colleagues to observe me while I'm teaching in class for 3 different sessions. I found from focus group interview, practical session or tutorial should be enriched with activities, feedback and practice opportunities. And they said that approaches and techniques used in teaching should be applicable to the content of programming with different paradigms in order to help us to strengthen our basic problem solving skill. I found from peer observation, students practice programming in class with difficulties but rarely, and they have lack of understanding programming, syntax and semantics. Students have limited opportunities to practice programming 2 or 3 times per week. Those are data I received from peer observation and focus group interview. With those informations, I carried out 3 key activities. Action. First, I support my students by teaching syntax and the semantics of computer programming before I have gave for them practical tasks to be exercised. Second activity, I created different small groups and assigned tasks to each group. This allows students to practice the task individually and in group. And third, I created coding club to help them learn together and be creative in programming. After I implemented this by 6 different sessions, I evaluated my result by peer observation and focus group interview again. The results showed me learners were able to understand syntax and semantics of computer programming, and my students' programming skill and their interest to learn and practice programming was increased than before.
Hello, greetings from Team Ethiopia. My name is Sub-Saharan Muhammad. I'm a lecturer from one of Ethiopian higher institution, namely Jiji University. For the last 4 months, I was doing exploratory action research for the British Council Ethiopia. My research focus was handling in a large class. There were key findings from my action research exploration phase, where majority of students feel unhappy about being in a large class, mainly because they feel that it's difficult to promote active learning. They have difficulty listening to individualist students' response due to high noise of the class. There were problems with providing detailed feedback, class control, and the discipline issues due to large numbers. Given that the teacher speaks mostly, the teaching was found it was a teacher-centered. If I try to state and mention the actions I implemented, I came up with a new strategies of teaching, like think, pair, share, that allows students to speak and hear one another. This is learner-centered and helps minimize unproductive noise as students will be actively involved in learning. I instituted peer feedback mechanism. I prepared response to tasks learners exchanged that books and assessed to reduce pressure on marking by the teacher. I used team assignments to reduce pressure on marking on the teacher, but also encourage collaborative learning. I evaluate results using peer observation and focus group discussion. The effects of actions I attempted was finding one in this new teaching strategies. I implemented think, pair, share. Since it was a learner-centered, it allowed us to know and get close to each other, not to feel shy to ask what they had not understood as students. At the same time, led us to identify and discover new ideas. In the lessons, if there is a random question, student A might not get the answer, but definitely student B would get. This enables us to promote active learning and improve understanding of the student. Using think, pair, share was
My name is Theodros and I'm Ethiopian. I'm working at Ethiopia School in Addis Ababa. I teach grade 11 students whose ages between 16 and 17. Every week the students take writing exam. One thing I've noticed from students' exam paper is students have made grammatical mistakes in their written work. So I decided to carry out exploratory action research on the topic of the use of correct grammar in writing. To carry out this research, I prepared 4 different questions. Question number 1, what I am doing to support my students to use grammar properly. Question number 2, what do my students feel when they make grammatical mistakes in their written work? Question number 3, what grammar activities do my students engage in the classroom? Question number 4, what do students do to avoid grammatical mistakes in their written works? To carry out this research question, I used 2 research tools. Number 1, questionnaire. Number 2, the reflective journal. I took 2 days to collect the data from 37 students and 3 days from 4 teachers. Maybe you asked me why use this amount of students. Because I am a homeroom teacher for this section and I'm also an English teacher for this section too. I analyze the data, I got the following findings. Number 1, the students need variety grammar activities. Number 2, teacher regular feedback encourages students to correct the grammatical mistakes. Number 3, the students feel disappointed when they make grammatical mistakes in the written work. Number 4, they have difficulties in correcting the grammatical mistakes in their writing. After my findings, I started to prepare my action plan. I prepared different grammar activities such as gap filling activities, text substitution activities, text analysis activities, and implemented them for a week. Then I evaluated my action plan using questionnaire and reflective journal similar to exploratory action and research. The result indicated that students are able to use grammar correctly in their written work. I'm saying that not all students use grammar correctly in their written work, but most of them, they use correct grammar in their written work. They are starting to read grammar textbooks. This is one of the big change I have seen after the research. Number 3, they have developed giving feedback each other. This leads to collaborative learning among themselves. One thing I got from this research and experience is I know my students' feelings and opinions. This will help me to be a better teacher.
Hi there. My topic is appropriacy of reading text to develop reading skills. I am Garramo Garda from Ethiopia. I work for Ethiopian Police University Peacekeeping Language Center, which is found in Addis Ababa near Mexico Square. My students are police officers who are learning to be deployed as peacekeepers in United Nations mission. They are intermediate level students. They are adult learners. My reason to conduct this exploratory action research was I saw my students struggling to understand the reading text I use and do some of the reading activities. For the problem I mentioned earlier, I wanted to answer the following exploratory research questions. What activities am I planning to develop reading skills? What do students think about the reading text? What makes reading text difficult for students? What do students think of the text I use to develop reading skills? What challenges do students face in their reading of the texts? To answer the research question, I used 3 tools or research instruments: questionnaire in which 10 students participated from 30 total number, focus group discussion, 5 students participated, and a reflective journal written by the researcher, which is me. So my findings were students think that reading text is culturally inappropriate to them. The text we use in the classroom is difficult to understand, and because of the words are difficult and the text is not culturally tailored for the students think that they need more time to read to understand the text. They also have a challenge with the way vocabulary is presented. During presentation, they would like to see more local content in the reading text. The action taken to solve the problems were pre-teach vocabulary, which were difficult, and replace them with simpler one. Prepare culturally appropriate reading text or pre-teach cultural context, which were taught were difficult. Give more time for the reading text. I evaluated the result of the action with focus group discussion and reflective journal. After the implementation of the action, students able to practice reading text which was prepared as culturally appropriate more easily than the common text we use for reading practice purpose. Use simplified vocabulary more easily compared to vocabulary which were not simplified. Practice reading for longer time compared to the regular time we use in practicing reading activity. Practice reading activity better when they were pre-taught cultural context which were not familiar to them. From this exploratory action research, I learned the following points. Teachers have to reflect on their challenge or success of classroom teaching. Action research is cyclical and never stops. If teachers reflect on their classroom activities, they become more productive. Thank you.
Hello everyone, this is Alex from Ethiopia. I am an English teacher in a vocational training college. I did my research based on the classrooms I teach, which is vocational training students. My research was originated from a puzzle because I was puzzled by whether the group work is useful or effective or not. And in order to answer this, I have prepared 5 research questions, and I also used 3 data collecting tools, including classroom observation, personal reflection, and focus group discussion with my students. According to the data collecting process, there are some interesting findings about the research. One of the findings is that group work has been found the most interesting and effective way of teaching. It also creates and enhances collaborative learning among students, and it has a nature of letting students to be engaged in the classroom lessons. Uh, However, there are some problems found in the data collection process about group work. One of the problems is that students mostly group themselves or form their groups, which has a negative effect on mixing different language level students, which is later a problem seen while students want to communicate each other. There is a gap between slow and fast learners. And also another finding is that there's a problem of conflict of interest among group members because there are free riders and committed group members. And another problem is that students had been seen using their mother tongue instead of English because they were supposed to use English as the subject is English. This is because they do not have confidence of speaking English, and they don't have the necessary language acquisition for that. Another problem found in the data collection is that students engage in different tasks than the group work. And in order to avoid these problems, the research has suggestions to change. One of the suggestions is that the teacher has to form groups, and also the task allocation must be there among group members in order to make everyone busy and engaged. And another suggestion is that pre-task vocabulary exercise has to be there in order to feed the students some words and expressions to use in their group work conversations. And another thing is there should be a reward for students who are using English mostly. In this project, to be honest, I haven't done the action part. I've only done the exploration part. I was so busy with other commitments, and I have to ask apology for my mentors and trainers. And I have benefited a lot from this research because it helps me to be not only the teacher but also teacher researcher. Thank you so much.
All right, that's it for Team Ethiopia. Thanks so much for the 7 researchers who were involved into the project. So the Q&A section is open. So feel free to ask your questions while we just resume and work with the Team Sudan. So Team Sudan is going to also be presenting today. So we have 6 panelists. So I'm going to play the video for Team Sudan. So let's get ready. Let's see what Team Sudan has to offer.
My name is Mayada Sadiq from Sudan. I'm an English teacher at Al Amal School located in Western Kordofan State, Al Khouei. My students are about 12 years old in grade 6. This research is based on a problem, which is the lack of students speaking in the classroom. My research questions are: what kind of speaking difficulties do I observe in my students? What do my students think of pair work speaking activities? How often do my students interact orally in the lesson? And how do I teach speaking in the classroom? I used focus group and key observation to collect the data. For focus group, I chose 80 students out of 30. For peer observation, my colleague observed 3 lessons. The main findings are: my students feel unconfident and frustrated when they speak to the whole class, and quite confident when they speak in pairs. Moreover, they need vocabulary and grammar to speak. They also need pronunciation lessons. As a result of those findings, I provided students with leaflet of related task vocabulary before each lesson. Besides that, I taught grammar implicitly. I also conducted a pre-speaking activities such as information gap and visual stimuli. In addition to that, I taught pronunciation and conducted pair and group work activities. The implementation process took 6 lessons. I used questionnaire, lesson observation, and journal reflective to evaluate the implementation. The results of my action plan are: learners more involved in the speaking task when the speaking activity was part of their grammar lessons. Learners were able to use the new learned vocabulary in practice tasks and also appeared at ease and capable to use correct grammatical language in speaking activities. Pronunciation improved, but not much. It may need more time. Learners are more confident to speak in groups and to the whole class beside in pairs. This research helped me understand the challenges my students face when speaking in English, and that they need vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation emphasized. Furthermore, they need a lot of various activities to be carried out, whether in groups or in peers. In addition, it helped me reflecting on my own teaching by searching and looking for most suitable and effective ways to improve my teaching.
Hello everyone, it's Ahmed Sharif from Sudan. I'm a lecturer of English language at Safat College and International University of Africa. I've conducted my last action research on my students of engineering aviation at Safat College. It was a result of the last whole debate around online teaching after the last wave of COVID-19. According to the nature of my course and the situation of technology in my beloved country, I couldn't be able to adopt the pure online teaching method. So I searched around and I found the flipped classroom strategy. But it wasn't okay be ready to use without any check or approval. So after I attended the valuable class or workshop of action research funded and facilitated by the British Council Sudan, I made use of the great knowledge and practical skills that I gained from the three fantastic and amazing trainers to explore in my classroom to find out the situation or the practicability of using flipped classroom in my class. Firstly, I used focus group, questionnaire, and interview some of my colleagues. Results were, firstly, my students were very happy of the use of flipped classroom, but they faced difficulties to understand the meaning of some keywords. The time I used to send the material before was not adequate for them, and also some of my colleagues added that it should be highly controlled. The second part of the research was the implementation of the actions. The first action I took, I used to send the materials before 3 days of the actual time of the lecture. I have also selected some more simplified and subtitled videos. I posted some word walls and posters of the words and their meanings as a glossary around to help them understand the meaning of the keywords. To check out, I have repeated the focus group meeting with the same students, and I asked them many further questions around the use of flipped classroom. And I also wrote down some notes of mine at the reflective journal. Their answers during the last focus group meeting, they said that they are really happy and relaxed to study through flipped classroom strategy. The adequate time made them more relaxed and they could keep balance between the other courses. It was also very good for me as a teacher to find out some spare time to distribute oral presentations topic for the same students to expand the room of spoken language practice.
I'm Sifran Mabrur. I teach at the Hasha Public Secondary School in Khartoum, Sudan. I focus my exploratory action research on exploring the use of smartphone in doing writing tasks in English, and I carried out my research on 17 students, divided into 6 groups who were in grade 9 with ages group between 16 to 18. I noticed that in my class, all the students had smartphones and that brought with them in school without benefiting in their learning. So I sought to apply it in doing writing tasks. To do that, I asked myself what my learners thought about using smartphone in doing writing tasks in English language. How often and what ways my learners use smartphone during writing tasks. What my learners did writing tasks very effectively using a smartphone, and what kinds of difficulties I observed when my learners use smartphone during writing tasks. To answer these questions, I decided to collect data from reflective journal, lesson observation, and questionnaire. After analyzing the data, I was surprised at what it showed me. First, I found out that my learners use their smartphones to gather information and manage writing tasks collaboratively. Then, most learners and their smartphones during their task review vocabulary, access to internet, take graphs and notes, and check their writing. Also, I discovered that the most effective writing tasks that my learners use smartphones to do were writing short paragraphs, blogs, writing emails, and short messages on a snapshot, and they did writing tasks effectively when they used their smartphones because their teacher provided them with the guidelines before tasks. However, my learners were distracting by posting on the phone and lost focus on writing and managed pages when there were many writing tasks to do. Learners also had challenges of applying some features on the smartphone and had difficulties in getting alphabet on the keypad on time. With this information, I decided to make some changes. I taught my students 6 lessons in 3 weeks before doing effective activities and gave them some strategies for using a smartphone, and I divided them into 4 groups. I put up a drawing of the font to enable students to locate letters of the alphabet on the keyboard. Then I supported them with typing challenges by giving them more practice in typing on the phone. I also told them how to manage many pages of writing tasks, and I supported individual learners who had challenges of applying some features on the smartphone too. Then I evaluated the result of my change in my teaching using focus group and peer observation. I was glad to find out that my learners were able to locate letters on the phone easily in a controlled practice. Learners also suggested that their typing was improved by using predictions to type writing efficiently. Moreover, learners were able to manage pages quickly in an experienced way without any distraction. Also, they were able to gather some features, to apply some features in their phone collaboratively and effectively. I felt satisfied with the result as came mainly from my learners. My learners came to the point because they were given the chance. I also know that using exploratory exercises had an important impact on my teaching, which helped me to understand the situation better.
My name is Ibtisam Sabahazem from Sudan. I'm English teacher in Babikir Usman Secondary School for Girl in Khartoum State, Jabal Awliya locality. I teach students grade 9. Their age is about 14 to 15 years. They have difficulty in reading. Then my research oriented from their problems that in reading. My question is, how do I feel about my students' inability to read, and what do I want to see happening in student with student reading ability, and what do the students feel about their reading ability, and what do students think of strategies that I use in teaching reading. So I use method of questionnaire, reflective journal, and observations. I use reflective journal from the pre-performance in school and give them questionnaire to a group of 30 students, pick them randomly from school. Then we found that they have poor background in English, in English language, and also they have no or difficult readings, and they have problems about grammar, vocabulary, compound words, so many problems that we found in questions. They enjoy reading story, simple text, and simple language. We do some entering to solve this problem using pre-reading, loud reading, also silent reading gives them more time to support them. They think that my teaching, my strategy that helps them to read. Then we give them more support to help them to improve readings. Then we evaluate and give them another questionnaire, peer observations, interview my colleagues. Then we find that they have progress in readings. They have answering the question in a proper way. They understand where they this from the interfering that about sign language and posters and more support that I give them. Then we find that they were good participating in reading. They love English, and also for all this experience, I know how to solve the problem, or how to find the problem, or how to solve it in a scientific way. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, my name is Tariq Ahmed Adam from Sudan. I work in a private institute located in South Kordofan State, Dalim locality. Exploratory accent research. I carried out this research with a class over 18. They are mature and they are beginners. What invented this research is a problem, and I found myself along with some questions. Why do I think my students have problems forming sentence when speaking? And what are the common errors made by my students when speaking? What do I use as activities to develop speaking among my students? And more other questions. In order to answer these questions, I used questionnaire, lesson observation, and a reflective journal in order to collect data and to get me a clear answers. And what I have found is a problem. It's clearly a problem. Students do make grammatical errors when speaking. Students need more grammatical activity integrated with speaking and listening, using literature and non-literature. Students feel nervous when they pronounce strongly, and this may lead students to feel or less motivated in speaking class. As an action plan, with the supports of experts and mentoring, I use practical tasks such as dialogues, short conversations, and debates, and short audio and video to improve pronunciation. And I applied them with 20 of my students in a 2 weeks period of time to evaluate the impact of my action plan. I used focus group discussion, lesson observation, and a reflective journal. And what I have got as a result after the action plan is helpful, hopeful to me and to my students, and it shows us a bright side. That learners enjoyed pair work using dialogues, and they learned simple grammatical sentence structure. Learners participated effectively and were excited.
My name is Muhammad Abdul Ibrahim. I'm from Sudan, Northern Kordofan State, Sabubayt. I am an English teacher and also a trainer in in-service training institute for teachers. And I used to train teachers for basic schools and intermediate schools. And during my observation to the teachers, I discovered that students face many problems in reading, and these problems may lead them to misunderstanding of the text. So I decided to make an exploratory action research, and I used 4 questions for my exploratory action research. Number one, what are the main difficulties students have when reading? And number 2, what do my students think about their reading strategies? Number 3, what do you think about the strategies I use in the classroom to address reading difficulties? Number 4, what challenge do I think my students have when they're reading inside the classroom? To collect the data for this exploratory action research, I use 2 tools, questionnaire and reflective journal, and I try to answer these questionnaire to make the finding and the answers. And I come up with the following findings. Number 1, students use inappropriate reading strategies, so they face difficulties in understanding the text. Number 2, students didn't use their prior knowledge to understand the text. Number 3, unknown vocabulary made them struggle in understanding the text. Number 4, students were unable to use techniques to predict the meaning of the text. And after that, I plan a proposal change for these findings. The proposal change to be implemented inside the classroom are: number 1, to teach the reading strategies to students to help them understand the text. Number 2, ask the student to read the pre-reading question before their reading. Number 4, pre-teach the vocabulary that were unknown to them before they're doing the activity. Number 4, to make use of the picture capture and the titles and the background knowledge to deal with the text. And after
So we've just completed playing videos for the team in Sudan. So congratulations, Sudan team. We've been having questions while the video was playing, which is good. So it actually gives us time to really move on to project team Nigeria. So just be mindful that the Q&A box is still open, so you can still ask questions to the team, to the teams Ethiopia and Sudan. But we're actually going to move to the Nigeria team. So we had 7 researchers from the team in Nigeria. We're going to play the video now so you can see the work that they have been able to achieve.
Hello there, I'm Isaac from the city of Lagos, Nigeria. I work with the Lagos State Ministry of Education, and then my primary place of assignment is Idata Ilagbo Community Junior High School. I carried out my research project with year 9 students with age group of 13 to 16 years old. And then my research focus was student difficulties during spelling task. So I needed to understand this problem well. I needed to know what my students' thoughts really were about spelling task. I needed to know the kind of activities they engage themselves with during spelling task, and then also the kind of strategies I use in supporting them during spelling task. And so I discovered that learners actually felt they would do better when they have the words ahead for practice, okay, before they eventually take the spelling task. I also discovered that students, most of them actually had a positive attitude towards spelling task. Then lastly, I discovered that learners felt some of the words they were given during spelling tasks were beyond their, their class level. And so all of this made me to develop my action plan. And so I grouped my learners based on their spelling skill proficiency, and then they were given spelling tasks based on their level of proficiency. And then they had enough time to practice the words before they eventually take the spelling task. So one thing I've learned in the process of this research work is that my students are not actually, are not really poor in understanding, in doing well in spellings, but that the words, some of the words were beyond them, and then their motivation level is also low. The motivation level towards taking spelling tests is also low. And so this research project made me to understand the problem well, and then I was able to give solution because of the proper understanding that I had. Thank you.
I am Gratulate Motakari from Ijebu Gage Grammar School. I carried out a research titled Errors in Essay Typewriting Among the Learners who are within the range of 12 to 14 years. This research came into existence due to the poor performance of my learners in their essay writing. For this research, first preparatory questions were designed. What do I expect from my learners? What do my colleagues think about errors in essay writing? What do my learners think about errors in essay writing? And lastly, what are the errors being committed by my learners? To answer the 4 questions above, teacher's reflective journal, interview, and learner's reflective writing were adopted. However, the exploratory research made me realize that lack of essay skills and poor reading habits made learners commit a lot of errors, ranging from out of context points, grammatical errors, and improper punctuation. I also found out that some learners did not have the idea of what to write down, while those with ideas of what to write lack how to structure the ideas into coherent essay. And lastly, I was able to identify and I was able to know that some learners lack confidence in writing. And as a result of this, they write the same way they talk. And this actually negates the grammatical role. And to provide solution to the above problem, I developed an essay outline on principle of good writing, teacher modeling, writing frame and template, and I equally encourage peer feedback in order to expose learners to grade level reading such as storybook, magazine, newspaper, and journal. All these were carried out within 6 lessons. The action plan was evaluated using learners interview at the end of the intervention, and 2 peer observation during and after the intervention. On the result part, the essay guidelines and practices helped the learners in structuring their ideas into introduction, body, and conclusion. It also helped them in making essays without committing out of out of context points, grammatical errors, and improper punctuation usage. On the other hand, teacher modeling, writing frame and templates build the learner's confidence and boldness towards presenting their idea in a structured and organized manner. With grade level reading such as newspaper, magazine, journals, and storybook, learners were able to build up confidence. They were able to have good and structured uh, essays. As such, they still have issue in their vocabularies, but very different from the way it was before the action plan was taken. On the final notes, the research process made me realize that poor performance of many learners in essay writing is not a matter of constant practices, as many teachers would think. It is a matter of identifying learners' problem and applying needed strategies that are helpful in bringing about desired changes in learners' essay performance. Thank you.
My name is Bethel Ude. I teach English language in Federal Government Girls College, Buari, Abuja. I'm from Nigeria. I carried out my research using a group of SS1 students aged 13 to 15 years. What gave rise to this research is a problem. The students had a problem speaking English fluently. So I developed 4 research questions. 1, what mistakes do my students make when speaking English? 2, what do I want to see happening regarding my students when speaking English? 3, what do my students feel about their poor performances in speaking English? And 4, what do my students think of the strategies I use in teaching English? The exploratory tools used are peer observation, reflective journal by teacher, and focus group. The focus group enabled me to draw out what my learners had in mind, while the peer observation helped me to implement the suggestions I received in the next lesson. The findings are that learners are not really bothered about speaking English fluently because they do not think that this has anything to do with their being successful in life. They feel that once they are able to communicate their thoughts to their listeners, that is enough for them. So they have problem with their pronunciation, their tenses, their vocabularies, and as a result of this, they could switch without even thinking about it. However, they feel that if other extracurricular activities are being introduced to them, aside regular classroom activities, this will go a long way in helping them to improve in their speaking. So the action plan, we undertook retelling stories, impromptu speaking, and debates. Retelling stories enable them to listen to stories and then retell these using their own words. Of course, these stories are stories being told by native speakers of the English language. They listen to it and then retell using their own words. So they work on their pronunciation, their use of tenses and vocabulary. Impromptu speaking enable them to prepare for every lesson before coming to class, while debates help everybody to participate in class because they have to give a reason or reasons for their stance, and then this help them to be mindful of how they speak. The evaluation tools are still peer observation, focus group, and reflective journal. In terms of peer observation, LinkedIn proved to be very, very helpful because I got to connect with other teachers of the English language, especially native speakers of the English language. I make recordings of my lessons, send to them, and then they review, give their feedback, which I then implement in my next lesson. One of such persons also sends me a recording of her own class, which I played to my students, and then we even moved to speak like her own students because they are native speakers of the English language. Then the result is that my students are more active in class. They pay more than additional attention to their speaking now. They take their time to actually think of what they want to say before speaking because they do not want to make mistakes. They actually really improving. We carried out or implemented this 4 times, 4 lessons, and there's really been huge progress and huge success to this. I've learned that I'm a teacher and I need to also interact with other teachers, my peers, to learn from them. I've learned different techniques from different teachers I've connected with, and then I've also seen that to be more effective in teaching, I need to carry out more of this research, because the more I get to know what my learners want, the better I'm able to give them or teach them in a way that they would really appreciate.
Hello, my name is Sarah Balogun. I teach in the Department of English, School of Languages, Federal College of Education, Zaria, Kaduna State, Nigeria. The students used for this research are Year 2 students of the Department of English, and they are between the ages of 18 and 25 years. And the problem that warranted this research is their lack of interest in reading recommended literary text. In order to explore this, I used 4 research questions. These questions are: 1. What do my students think of reading recommended literary text? What kinds of tests are recommended for literature courses? How do my colleagues teach literature-based courses that warrant the recommendation of literary text? And how do my students benefit from reading recommended literary text? In order to explore these questions, we use exploratory tools such as the reflective journal, focus group comprised of all of the teachers that are teaching literature courses. And then we also use a questionnaire to elicit answers from the students. And findings show that the students feel that the tests are boring, they are stressful, and the language used is complex. That is why they do not like to read. As for my colleagues, they use uh, lecture method in teaching these literary based courses. Now, for recommendation of this test, it is a government policy that is called a minimum standard that uh, that uh, that determines what test to be recommended. And my students believe that it is beneficial for them to read because the test will help them to improve their vocabulary, their grammar, their reading and writing skills, as well as expose them to the various cultures of the world. In order to carry out an intervention, I use 4 activities. These activities include reading aloud, role play, as well as a group reading. The class was broken into groups, and then each group was given a chapter of the recommended text to read and summarize. For drama test, we gave some students to I gave some students this drama test to reenact on the stage, and then they did it beautifully. As for poems were given to some of the students to come to the stage to read aloud. They were able to read, put meaning to it, identify the rhyming scheme. They were able to look at the tone. They were able to bring out some literary devices in the test. They were able to talk about the thematic preoccupation of the test as well. This is something that they couldn't do before. And for the acting, they really took joy. They found joy in reenacting what is in the text. They were able to talk about the character and the characterization. These are things they couldn't do before. So uh, this uh, this um, this positive outcome of this intervention really shows that the intervention worked. It helped them to read all of the tests that were recommended for this semester. And what has this research shown me? It has opened my eyes to a lot of things. The most important thing is that using lecture method to teach literature-based courses doesn't cut it. It's not good enough. It is archaic and it should be changed. I have learned that creativity is very important. I need to be creative when it comes to teaching and recommending of tests. I need to be creative when it comes to activities that will be given to the students to motivate them to read. The students, on the other hand, have come to realize that it's not like they are not interested in reading these tests. It's not like the tests are actually boring. It is just the fact that they lacked motivation to read. And these activities prompted them, it motivated them, it encouraged them to read, and they really were delighted. And they've come to appreciate the value of reading this recommended text. As for my colleagues who were peer observers during the intervention, they've come to also see that activities giving proper activities can actually motivate the students to read. So in all of it, creativity is vital.
Hello, my name is Anita Nchat Kevin. I teach literacy at Amina Dyslexia Center in Kaduna, Nigeria. My students are aged 10 to 14 years old. I noticed that most of them were experiencing comprehension blocks, aside the fact that they have dyslexia. I was puzzled by this situation and decided to carry out an exploratory research to find out what the problem is. I came up with 4 questions for this exploratory research. These questions are: 1. What is the purpose of reading for comprehension? 2. What are the difficulties the students experience during reading for comprehension? 3. What do I think of the strategies I use to develop reading comprehension? And 4. What do my students think of the strategies I use to develop reading for comprehension? With the help of a reflective journal, which I kept for 3 weeks over 9 lessons, and a focus group interview with all 8 students, I found that they were having difficulties with reading comprehension because they do not have a good grasp of the structure of a story, like identifying the main character in a story. They have problems with vocabulary because they do not have a good foundation with the English language, and they also have very low exposure to books at home. I also found that the strategies I use are not very effective. For instance, the language used in most of our texts is too advanced, and the fact that my students do not have the skills to work independently is also a problem. Using 6 lessons over a period of 2 weeks, I provided decodable books that are grade level appropriate. Then we will discuss the text to enable them process it before reading. The students worked in pairs to support one another in decoding unfamiliar words. I also facilitated vocabulary instruction to give meaning to the text. We evaluated the above strategy using focus group interview and peer observation. Then I established that a good grasp of vocabulary makes reading more fluent and comprehensive. While grade level decodable text is very useful in building vocabulary and working in pairs helps to build confidence in reading, it also builds vocabulary, which makes comprehension easier. This action research has helped me to see the value of involving my students in the process of helping them overcome their learning challenges. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Chineye Bernard Nabike. I'm a special education teacher with the Special Education Center Secondary School in Nigeria. I work with young learners within the ages of 15 to 17 who take English language as part of their subject in the secondary school curriculum, educational curriculum in Nigeria. I noticed that they had some problems with naming letters whenever they are reading comprehension passages. So I gave them some strategies, 2 strategies on how they could solve the problems naming letters, but they still had issues naming the letters. So I had to go into classroom action research, unable to know the problems, if there was a problem on it, and to provide a solution on it. I 4 questions guiding me on this research. What do my students think about letter naming during reading comprehension passages? What class activities do my students do to aid them in classroom, aid them in reading comprehension passage? What challenges do my students face? And what social materials do they use to aid them in reading passage? And I found out that, from my findings, I found out that they had challenges reading comprehension passages in the afternoon. They have challenges in reversals, letter reversals, naming letters that had letter reversals of letter B and letter D. And also they had challenges in lip reading my lips while I spoke during lip reading class. I use 2 collection tools to aid my reading, to aid my research. One was classroom focus group focus group, and also lesson observation, which was helped by my colleague. I came out with some. This really helped me out. I implemented some changes. The first one was I moved the classes from afternoon class to the morning class because I saw that morning hours was lessening their anxiety in letter naming. I shared them in small groups of pairs, so that they will be able to share ideas and read together. And also I used empty sheets of papers for them to trace letter B and letter D, so that they could enable them for clarity on letter B and letter D. This made them it made them it made them name letters better, and it gave my students self-confidence. They were able to name letters and they were able to work in pairs. They were able to master their skills.
My name is Helen Ogudugu. I'm a teacher, educator in the Sub-Saharan College of Education, Benin City, Edo State, Nigeria. I work with adult learners who are studying English as part of their professional degree. I observed that most of my students were not participating well in speaking activities and were always reluctant to speak in class during class activities. And I tried to encourage them verbally, but still there was no improvement. As a result, I decided to carry out an exploratory research action to find out what was really the problem. To guide my exploratory research, I came up with 4 exploratory research questions, which were: 1. What do my students think about speaking English in class? 2. What am I doing to improve my students' speaking skills? 3. What do my students think of the strategies that I use during speaking activities in class? 4. What challenges do students experience in speaking English language in class? To answer these questions, I collected data using the following: 1. Questionnaires, 2. Focus groups, and 3. Reflective journals. After analyzing the data, I found out that my students really did like speaking English in class, as well as working in group, but would not want to speak in class because they were afraid of being laughed at by their peers when they make mistakes. They were also reluctant to speak because some had challenges with pronunciations, vocabulary, and grammar. With this information, I decided to introduce the Think, Pair, Share (TPS) classroom strategy, where I will pre-teach vocabulary in the topic to be learned and also organize pre-speaking activities. In carrying out this action, I give the students certain key vocabularies in the topic to be learned and allow them to think, pair, and share their ideas in groups of at most 5 persons. Thereafter, I merge the groups and the discussion becomes a classroom discussion. After implementing the action for about 2 weeks, I decided to evaluate my students by using a focus group and a pair observation by one of my colleagues who observed me during the implementation of the action. I organized focus groups with about 25 of my students. After analyzing the results, I observed that my students became more active in classroom activities. I also noticed that their pronunciation had improved, although not totally, and the level of thoughts and pauses in between every expression also reduced as well, because the vocabularies were pre-taught and the learners familiarized themselves with the words. I also realized that working in pairs created a free and more friendly atmosphere for the learners to express themselves and answer questions in the classroom. As for me, carrying out this action by using the Think, Pair, Share strategy has added to my proficiency and made me a better teacher.
All right. We are done with the presentations. So it was, again, 19 teachers from Ethiopia, Sudan, and Nigeria. They all presented what they've been working very well and hardly for. And then this is the end of the presentation. So We have a couple of minutes, about 10 minutes for question and answers. We've been having questions from the Q&A box, which is nice. Some of these questions have been already answered by the panelists. We have a couple of questions coming in, and I'm going to be sharing some of the questions, and we'll invite researchers from the countries to actually give an answer. So the first question is for Sudan, Team Sudan, get ready. We have a question from Mesfin, and Mesfin is asking, how did you keep them motivated as they did the activities in the flipped class format? How did you keep them motivated as they did the activities in the flipped class format? And I said, it's obvious that they tend to be quite dependent on classroom instructions only. So this question about flip chart is actually directed to Ahmed Sharif. So Ahmed.
Yeah, that's great. Hi, good afternoon from Sudan.
Hello, Ahmed. Can you come closer to the computer, please?
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Yes. Hello.
Hello. Do I need to repeat the question for you?
Yeah, no matter. I have read that and I have already answered in WhatsApp, but I will repeat my answer orally.
Super. Please go ahead.
Actually, it was one of my peer interview answer. They said that it should be highly controlled. And as I'm teaching in tertiary level, I used to link up everything that I do inside the classroom with marks. We have some amount of the total marks called classwork marks, 30 out of 100. Nothing is free in my class. So I tend to give them marks for participating inside the classroom. And I used to instruct 3 questions before each lecture about the materials that I sent in advance. So the students were fighting for answer inside the classroom, which made the engagement and the involvement. Thank you.
Thanks, Ahmed. Thank you very much. Mesfin, we hope this answered your question. The next one is a bit more general. It's coming from Tigis Tesema, and they're asking, they're just giving some feedback about the presenters, about how excited you are about the research on students, and then they said it's great to see this, but there's still a gap on teachers, instructors, and also university lecturers. For instance, as per the experience, in order to handle large classes with more than 50 students in class, is preparing smart PowerPoint or educational materials the best to handle it, because attraction is the most important to students. I think this is a more general question about large classes with more than 50 students, and whether PowerPoint slides or educational material is actually more attractive to students. Is there anyone from Sudan, Nigeria, or Ethiopia, anyone who is willing to answer that question? Anyone?
In Ethiopia, I believe it was Abdisalam that was looking at large classes. And then somebody in Nigeria also made reference to mixed groups and large classes as well.
Yes, Abdisalam, do you want to answer the question?
Yes.
Ooh.
Sorry, there seems to be an echo in the room.
We are receiving some feedback from you.
Yeah. Can you carry on, please? Oh, you know, what we're going to do, Abdisalan, maybe you can actually type in your answer. And we'll actually, can you type in your answer in the Q&A box while we actually move on to the next question? Thank you. So we have some feedback from Esther from Ghana, saying these are great lessons from the team. Well done. So this is some people cheering the researchers for the work that they have done. Now there's a question about, there's a question from Emma Actas, and Emma is saying most of the researchers have used similar methods for data collection. What were some of the benefits of using reflective journals in enhancing the overall classroom practices?
Yeah, maybe I could address that question, but anybody who feels happy to jump in and add to that, it's okay. So we have shared with researchers a variety of methods, and they choose the ones that they are most comfortable with using based on their question. So it's the question that determines the method that they used. Of course, they're comfortable using the methods that they kind of know better. And in the case of reflective journals, it's interesting that they use it because it's not widely considered to be a good, or not a good, but widely spread method for data collection, but is a very effective method to collect data about your own beliefs, about what you think about a situation. So in the exploration process, something that we invite teachers to do that may be helpful for them is to look at their own beliefs about a situation and their expectations. So sometimes they say that, for instance, their speaking classes are not working as they would like them to be. But what are your expectations about speaking? Maybe if you keep a reflective journal about how the speaking classes have been carried out and what you expect from them, then maybe when you collect data, you can reflect on what your initial expectations were and whether they were changing as the time progressed, or they also can account for observations that you carried out throughout the different days and reflections on that. So it serves as a great source of information about teachers' own assumptions, reflections of their everyday classes. So that is what it came out as widely used by teachers.
Thanks, Paula. Thanks for the answer. I think Abdisalan is actually ready now. I think there's less echo in the room, so you should be able to answer the previous question. Abdisalan?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very well. Thank you.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you for your question.
Welcome.
Basically, and in previous, we were handling in an average class, but in recent, we just found out facing challenge for increasing the number of students. So around 70, they reached around 70 and they caused for our overcrowded students. So this was the reason that we conduct for the research in handling in a large class. So I think he asked it, what is the aim for handling in a large class, or what do you mean, he said. So in recent, we are facing overcrowded class, but in previous, we are just in an average 40, but now around 75. So that's the reason behind conducting this research.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you, Abdisalan.
Sorry, Steve.
Yes.
Can I interrupt just 1 second?
Yes, absolutely.
Teddy has something to share about how useful reflective journals were to him. Teddy, do you have the opportunity to speak about it? Where are you, Teddy?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, Paula.
Hi, Teddy.
I'm fine. The reflective journal helped me a lot because I got the students' opinion and feelings on the reflective journal. In the real teaching and learning situation, the students haven't told me about what I'm doing and what I have done. So this reflective journal helped me to know the students' feelings and opinions. So that is the reason I use this reflective journal for my research tool. This is all about reflective journal.
Okay, thank you, Teddy. So, Teddy is using about the use of reflective journals, but by the students, how the students started to keep journals that he later used. Thank you, Teddy.
Thanks. So the next question, so we have about 5 more minutes for the question. So the next one is from someone from Ukraine. So it says, hello, everyone, I'm a teacher from Ukraine. I've got a suggestion. Why don't we create intercontinental meeting or similar format so that teachers from around the world could share their best experience in small, narrow topics, just one topic for all countries each time. We could create a virtual creative group and discuss different topics during the year monthly, for example. I think that's a great one. We currently have the Global Teaching English team running, global webinars in that format. So we invite you to visit the Teaching English website for more webinars, and eventually in October we're planning a big World Teacher Day. So I think that will be an opportunity for everyone to actually join similar events online. We have another question from Soul. Soul is asking, and what other available resources do you use to make your class more attractive? I think the question is for Abdisalan, I guess. They're asking what other, what methods and activities do you use in order to reduce background noise in the class, and what other available resources do you use to make your classes more attractive? I think this is more related to large classes. So Abdisalan maybe can answer that question again. Is Abdisalan around?
I think he was with Julia.
Yes. I think Julia is actually inviting him.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very well. Thank you.
The methods we use it, we just first and use it in data collection for questionnaire, interview, as well as FGDS. When we conducted them, we use it for the summary of analysis as a peer observation, as well as FGD. And then that method just help us to come up with these new strategies for instance, think per share, as well as assignments, team assignments, as well as think per share. So it can help us to improve in a handling in a large class. So they made it in an assignment for groups, then they improve it later. So I can say we just handle it instead of using think per share as well as team group assignment. And there were feedbacks, think per share. So I can say that's the reason.
Cool.
Yeah, I remember also from and here Teresa has some comments. Teresa was the mentor supporting some of the teachers, and Teresa has additional information that came from the research. She says that in the case of the large classes, pair work engage in productive discussion, and the background noise caused by the pair work was considered to be productive noise rather than disruptive noise.
As well as the discipline, yeah. Thank you, Paula.
Welcome.
Awesome, thank you. Now we've just been able to bring in the Nigeria team. We have questions from Nigeria, so I think they will go in next. Nigeria team, can you please unmute and ask your question?
I found a question for Team Nigeria here. I think it was for the last presenter. It was for Helen, I believe. There was a question for Helen that I don't know if you can answer this, Helen, or not, but the question is whether your case, your findings could be kind of transferred to the reality of a country where English is a foreign language, such as Ethiopia, and whether your case could be there, it could be practical, your findings could be transferred to the reality of a country like that, where English is a foreign language. Do you have anything to say about that, Helen? I don't know whether you can speak about that. This is a question from Abebe in Ethiopia.
Hello?
Hello, Ellen. We can hear
Hello,
you.
Ellen.
Yes, actually what the method is all about. You divide the class into pairs. For example, you want to treat a topic, like the one I used actually was communication. The words that are associated with that particular topic, I sort them out. You tell them, you just put the words there, you allow them to think, what do you understand? By the time they begin to discuss, A shares his idea with B, B shares his idea with C. By the time you merge them together with your assistants as well, whoever was not able to get the right word or the right definition, you help them out. And by so doing, it helps them to create like my class, I made them to create a personal dictionary. As you give them these words, they learn them every day. They begin to learn a new word. Thereby, a word they learn, they use them to make sentences, expressions, interactions. The following day, they add another to it. Then before you know it, they are well equipped with enough vocabulary. I don't know if I answered the question.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Helen.
Thank you, Ellen. We'll take two more questions. And then there's a question from Dana Chu from Ethiopia for the Nigeria team. And he's saying, how can you improve on peer activities to enhance confidence in speaking?
Yeah, that one is for Dagnachu from Ethiopia. Oh, no, that was from Nigeria, actually.
Yes. Danachu, can you answer that question? How can you improve on peer activities to enhance confidence in speaking? Hello.
I think Julia is bringing Dagnachu to the other room or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, because that room is a bit. I think it's a big.
Is the one causing the feedback?
Yeah, there's a big room in there.
Could we go to another question while we listen for Dagnachu? Because I found another question here. Oh, he's there. Is he there?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's there.
Yeah, actually, yeah, thank you. Peer work is one of the strategies to improve student speaking skills in class, because at the beginning, as I said, my students were afraid of speaking English in class in front of other people or the whole class. So I choose pair work. First, I formed two students in pair. They discuss, then they share, and finally to the whole class. So this pair work is a very, very important strategy to improve the speaking skills of, because they were afraid of making mistakes to the whole class. That is why I choose pair work is a good strategy, because in pair they discuss, because they are in pair, they discuss what they feel, they speak whatever they have, then finally they develop their ability to speak, then finally share to the whole class. That is a good strategy. I found it. Thank you.
Thank you, Danachu.
Steve, there is a very good question here, since we haven't heard much. Thank you, Dagnachu. Since we haven't heard much from Team Nigeria, there's a very good question that we could ask Team Nigeria, because it's very general. It's from Justine story. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. It's like my name. All the students are not behaving in the same way during a research project. What to be done if future students acted differently? So how do we address if they are just behaving differently because you're conducting a research project? Anybody from Team Nigeria has any reflections on that?
Sorry, we can't hear.
Can you hear me now?
Good.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's perfect.
All right, Akin Basso from Nigeria. Like in such a case, just as somebody from Sudan said earlier, when you have a situation like that, you divide or identify the student based on their strength. You know that this one, this is how he behaves. Maybe is a slow learner or has a certain kind of behavior that distracts your class. So what you do is you group them based on their strength. You identify them by their strengths. Then you teach them based on that. So once, for example, if group B has catched up, if group B, for example, has matched up with group A, you can join them with the group A. Then you focus on the next group, trying to, sort them. Let me just use the language sorting method. You sort them, you group them. So with that, you are able to work with them all. Thank you. I don't know if
Thank you. Thank you for that.
I think there's a last question for Team Nigeria here from Abebe, and they're thanking the Nigerian team, and they're asking, they're saying that they face a problem while teaching what actually they said, I face a problem while I teach as face some students who cannot hear English at all. In that case, I face problem to code switch or not, to use Amharic, the official language of Ethiopia. I'm not sure I actually read the question very well, but it seems they're actually facing problem teaching students who actually to whom English is not the first language, but rather Amharic, which is the first language of Ethiopia. And for the Nigeria team, how do you think they could actually be able to actually resolve that problem with code switching from one language to another?
I like to see the teams kind of talking to each other, sharing ideas, and then just taking the mic to share. I love it.
The question is not really clear because one, in Nigeria, the medium of teaching or the language of teaching is English. Language of instruction is English. So if the person asking the question should be clear about that. Is that the medium of teaching, or do they have a separate language for teaching? If they do not have a separate language and they use English, you have to start from the beginning and then teach them gradually. And one thing about learning any language is you need to listen, you need to practice, you need to read, you need to listen a lot, because that's the most difficult part of learning any language. If you can't listen, you practice, you listen to people who speak very well, native speakers, other African speakers, because we don't speak the same way. Thank you, that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
If that is the case, you should take out the grading at early stages of language learning. Again, something I noticed is everybody's scared of failure, and constant fear of failure is becoming a block. So you really need to remove the grading at a lower level until children have a good grasp of the...
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. So we'll close with a last question, a bit more general. from Haj Asa Moise. And then they're asking, in general, what is the perfect method for making students love the language? Because once they start to love the language, it will be easy for them to learn.
That's $1 million question, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a good one to close the event. So anyone from Team Nigeria or maybe Sudan can come through?
Yeah, we haven't heard Team Sudan in these past few minutes.
Yes, Team Sudan or someone from Nigeria is willing to answer.
All right. I was going to say that for those of us here in Africa, English is not our mother tongue. We all have a native mother tongue, or if there's anything like that, we all have a language we speak before learning English. So when we go to the classroom and we want to learn English, there is no one method to teach everybody English and make them love it. You know, people just have to walk in their pace. Some of us will pick English and love it from the very first day we come in contact with it. Some others love the people they see on TV, they like the way they speak, and so they want to learn to be like them. For those, they are highly motivated. But there are those who are intimidated by English, and so they will not pick up at the pace in which others are coming. So there is no one size fits all. You just do it and do it gradually until everybody picks up and fall in love with it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. It's just in relation to that, and so kind of to provide some general information on what our idea is with the project, and so in connection with the question is, this project would like to promote teachers to ask questions and not feel afraid of not having a ready-made answer. Because sometimes the answer could cause assumption, could cause people to, have ready-made solutions and one-size-fits-all kind of approach to teaching. And we know there's a lot of variety. Every student is different. Every classroom is kind of a whole world. So what we would like to invite people with this project is to not feel afraid to explore what happens in their classroom, to explore their reality, to research it, and with evidence, make decisions that are pertinent and applicable and appropriate to you. So any suggestion or recommendations that any of the researchers here have given you is based on the evidence that they have gathered from their classrooms. So the invitation is to those of you listening is to try to do the same. Engage in collecting evidence about your classroom and find answers according to your own reality and setting. So that is as a final words, that would be the invitation from the British Council to all of you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Paula. So we're actually coming closer to the end of this event. I'm just going to have Julia have a final word with everyone, both attendees and researchers.
Thanks, Steve. So thank you very much, everybody, for attending today. And I think all the classroom action researchers have done such a great job. It was really wonderful to see their presentations and their posters, and to look at the way they answer the questions and to listen to them answer the questions. So a big thank you to the teams in Ethiopia, Sudan, and Nigeria. Well done. We look forward to the next stage where you'll be publishing your research. Now, the conversation hasn't finished. We've only just started. We're going to continue on our regional online community of practice Telegram group. The registration link has been put in the Q&A box, or you can visit our Teaching English Africa website to also find the link to join. So I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you very much, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you, everybody.
Goodbye.